Hey everyone, it's Tammie, and I'm going to try to keep this quick because I have bread in the oven and the timer is going to go off any minute now to get it out. So to keep my bread from burning, I'm going to try not to ramble. Good luck with that, right? So I just want to make a quick update and say how excited I am right now. Yesterday I finished the first draft of my next novel, and that's crazy because I did it in like 2 weeks. There was 15 days. I missed one day of work because I was just kind of like busy with other stuff, and just didn't find time to write. But so 14 days literally I wrote the first draft of this novel, and it's thin. My first drafts are always pretty thin, and more layers will be built in subsequent drafts, but it's actually longer than some of the Cassie Black book first drafts. So it's not that thin, which is wild and crazy. So I think I'm most excited about this because I tried some different stuff with this book and it worked. And that's crazy because usually when I experiment with things, they don't work. One of the things I tried is that I normally work with my novels, I work from an outline. When I write short stories, I just sit down and write, and whatever comes out of this craziness comes out. Novels, however, I want an outline, and I kind of build that over the course of like maybe a week or two. So this novel, I had basically an idea of how I wanted it to start and how I wanted it to end. That's about it. I was too excited to get to work on it, and I would sit down and try to work on an outline and nothing would come out, and I just felt like really hamstringed by it. And so one day I just said, screw this, and started writing. I said, this is it. I want to write this first scene. I want to get it out of my head. Then maybe I'll outline. Nope, didn't end up outlining at all. So this is the very first time I wrote a book without an outline. And it feels really crazy that I was able to do it because I've always thought if I don't have an outline, and my outlines, hold that thought. My outlines, they're never like super detailed, but I kind of do a little bit kind of a chapter by chapter thing of what I want to happen. And so I feel like I use those kind of as a writing prompt each day. So when I was going in without having this outline, I kind of thought I'm going to get stuck all the time because I'm not going to have this writing prompt. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I never once got stuck. There were a couple days where the ideas were coming a little bit more slowly, but never once sat down and thought, there is nothing up here to work with. And part of that was because one of the other experimental things I tried was to have a word count goal each day. And I've never done that before. I've just kind of, told myself, you need to write chapter 2. If you don't write chapter 2, puppies and kittens will die. Instead of working that way, I worked with the word count goal. And so I set this word count goal, and some days was a little higher, some days was a little lower, depending on what was going on and if I needed to catch up on anything. Excuse me. And so I would write until I reached the word count goal, maybe go a little bit over. And then, I would just stop. Even if I was in the middle of a scene, I would just stop and I would type out kind of in bold letters so I would, be able to see it really easily. I would type out what I needed to happen next or what I was picturing happening in the rest of the scene, what would follow that up, that sort of thing. And it was literally like one paragraph, so it didn't take that long. And so I would go in the next day and use that as my writing prompt. And so it was kind of like I was outlining as I was going instead of just sitting there for a week or two thinking, okay, I need to see what happens next. So that was a new experience, and it really did work. So I would sit down every day and I would think, as I always think, like, I'm not going to be able to write anything. My brain isn't going to work anymore. But I did sit down and I still felt that way, but then I would see that paragraph and then like I would start visualizing the scene and just start typing. And the third kind of experimental thing that I tried was, if you're a writer, you've probably heard of it, and if you may have heard of it otherwise, but it's called the Pomodoro method, and it's basically you take a set amount of time and you work like mad during that time, and then you take a short break and, you know, kind of refresh the batteries and then jump back in, and you do as many of those as you can stand. And so I was doing 25 minutes on and then well, supposedly 5 minutes break, but that sometimes ended up being like 15 minutes, but you know, whatever. And the first 25 minutes it was like 500 words maybe I was getting through. And it quickly scaled up to, I was getting through about 800 words in the 25 minutes. And so, you know, that's pretty good for me. I'm not a fast typer. I hate typing. I really hate it. So yeah, so I think that really, it was a great working method, and I think I'm going to try it again. I'm also going to try not working from an outline again. I may never use an outline again. I don't know. This was great. It felt really fun to write, and it felt less structured. It felt less businessy. It felt fun. So yeah, and I don't really have a working title for the book yet. The series title is the Circus of Unusual Creatures. My timer is going off for the bread, so I've got to wrap this up. The series is going to be called The Circus of Unusual Creatures. It's going to be kind of set in traveling circus sort of thing, so there's going to be new locations. It's a mystery, but it's also kind of fantasy. And yeah, and I think it's going to be a good follow-up for Cassie Black. So that's it. I'll talk more about the series later, in the book later, and maybe one day I'll have a title for it. But that's it for now. I gotta get my bread out of the oven before it burns into a crisp. So, yeah, very excited. So, yeah, chat at you later, everyone. All right, bye.